Hello, and welcome to the other side.
And today's file.
Today's file looks at the truth.
We know it's out there.
Oh, but we do. Most cynics believe that a high percentage of people who report sightings of UFOs are in fact fakes. People who are only interested in the 15 seconds of fame. People who rub their greedy little hands together in the hope that they will get some money for their story.
You mean people get paid for their stories?
Stay right where you are. The real truth is that most people who report cases are in fact genuine in their belief that it happened. And people who have actually been abducted and returned are often very shy about the whole thing.
So why is it in this day and age we choose to think people are making it up?
For two reasons. Firstly, the aliens themselves don't actually act in a worthwhile manner. They hang around lonely farms and country lanes and generally make a nuisance of themselves.
You mean they're not very bright?
That's right, little protege. Not too bright. Surely people think if the aliens have travelled all this way, they would have had some things better to do than hang around Hungry Jacks and annoy passing dogs.
Is that really what they do?
Well, no, I just made that up for a good story.
And the second
See
reason?
my point. For the second reason, we must travel back to the 1950s, where we can find one of the first known hoaxes. George Adaminsky co-wrote a book called Flying Saucers Have Landed. He claimed to have had a series of meetings with blonde-haired aliens from the planet Venus. The Venetians supposedly had motherships in orbit around the Earth and smaller scout craft in which they landed. At the time, Adaminsky became quite famous. He also claimed to have seen forests and rivers on the moon, to have walked on the surface of Venus, and to have met with Martians.
Was it true, Warwick?
No. All of his photos were proven to be cheap fakes.
The forests and the rivers?
His backyard.
The Martians?
Probably his mother-in-law. Who knows? The point is that he spoiled it for everyone and built an army of cynics who had nothing better to do than sneer at people who have been to the other side.
And you say people get paid for these stories?
Well, you've mentioned this twice now. I don't think you're getting to the point.
Now, how much do they get paid, roughly?
Little student money is totally meaningless on the other side.
But it's pretty helpful on the other side, isn't it, Warwick?
Splutter, splutter. Here's Godzilla. Hello and welcome to the other side.
So, what pathetic conspiracy theory have you forced today, Warwick?
Today I'm taken to the high seas, where men are men, and ships are ships. Let us travel back in time to October 1943, halfway through World War II. Are you there yet?
Yeah, I'm there.
Good. Imagine the advantage you'd have over your enemy if you were invincible. Invisible.
I'm sorry, I don't quite see.
Well, you wouldn't, would you? You know, some people believe that the incredible scientist Albert Einstein was working on a theory called unified forces. To explain would take far too long, and quite frankly, it's unlikely that your brain would be able to cope. But what I will tell you is that by combining the forces of electricity, magnetism, and gravity, it is thought that Einstein stumbled across invisibility.
You mean?
Yes! Exactly. There are reports that a ship in Philadelphia was wrapped in a force field of 100 meters across and was in fact invisible.
The Philadelphia experiment.
Precisely, little protege. Anyone inside the force field could vaguely make out other people, and anyone outside the force field could vaguely see an outline of the ship's hull, but nothing else.
So the crew became...
That's right.
Invisible.
That's right.
So the experiment was a success.
Well, not if you call half the crew going mad a success. You see, once the experiment was over, the story goes that the crew members would freeze and become invisible at any time and without warning.
I didn't see them on the news.
Well, you wouldn't, would you? They're invisible. Once they froze, it was very important for people to mark the spot where they were last seen. Friends had to feel for their skin and bring them back into this world.
What if they didn't do that?
The person would explode into flames, never to be seen again anyway.
Well, what did the Navy say about all this?
They did not.
The newspapers?
I can't remember.
And what about the surviving crew members?
They just disappeared. Sorry about that.
Who are you talking to, Warwick?
No one at all, little protege. You ready? Come this way. You know, oh, didn't.
Warwick, what was that?
Didn't see that one coming. Well, you wouldn't, would you?
Answer. I know the answer, but I'm just going to...
Hello, and welcome to the other side. Again.
You know, Warwick, I'm getting bored with you always being a believer. Surely even you doubt alien life at some time.
Well, if I didn't doubt, I wouldn't question. And without questions, I wouldn't have found the other side.
Whoa, that's deep, man.
All right, I'll share with you a problem myself and my colleagues have had. I never thought I'd say this, but lately there's been way too many UFO sightings on this planet.
How can there be too many?
Well, over the past 50 years, there's been thousands of spottings of UFOs. Now, if you take into account that for every spaceship which has been seen, you can probably assume that there'll be another one that we have not seen. We're talking an epidemic of spaceships, man, in astronomical proportions, dude.
It almost seems like everyone with a spaceship just drops on into Earth.
Precisely. One trip to Mars with a side trip to Earth thrown in. We're a very popular travel destination. Why, we have people who jump up and down to strange music in sweaty clubs. We walk strange-looking animals on leads. And as for what we watch on the box, well, I won't even go into that. Richard Dean Anderson guy.
Yeah, Warwick, I guess we're a pretty interesting bunch.
Maybe. But are we really worth the trip for thousands of aliens every year? I put it to you that I'm not so sure anymore.
So you're questioning the whole idea of the other side? Talking of holidays, where are you going this year, Warwick?
Well, I've got some old friends I want to visit. On Mars. Let's go. Because, you know, the Martians are quite nice. Been friendly with their race for years. I actually...
What is the animal? The mascot for the Chicago Bulls. It's easy.
Hello and welcome to the other side, where, as usual, I have a tale to tell.
And what is that tale, Warwick?
A young girl soldier in the Russian Red Army was bored. She'd been wounded and her recovery was taking some time.
So she wasn't happy?
Indeed not. I was very angry and upset one day, Enel recalled. I was walking towards a cupboard when suddenly a jug moved to the edge of the shelf, fell and smashed to bits.
So she pushed it, right?
You'd think that, wouldn't you, you idiot? Of course you didn't push it. There was no hand contact. After a while, she noticed other things happening. Lights going on and off, crockery moving across tables, clouds moving across the sky, apparently of their own accord.
What clouds do?
I haven't finished. After a while, she began to concentrate and learn how to use her incredible power.
Well, what did she do with it?
Scientists started to take an interest in her. And it was during one of these sessions that she performed one of her most amazing feats. Come a little closer, as this will interest you. I hate that laugh. Don't! I will set the picture. A raw egg, very much like this one, which I happen to bring along with me. Coincidence, you be the judge. Broken into a glass tank, filled with saline solution. Thereby intense concentration. The white from the egg had moved. The two apart, you know, the white and the yellow, they'd moved. They separated, even though she was standing several meters away from the tank at the time.
That's the most amazing story I've ever heard. How did they explain it?
The usual. Magnetic forces were involved, you know, if I remember rightly. Maybe it proves that anything is possible if you try hard enough. Concentrating.
Whoa, Warwick, I'm moving towards you, man. What's happening?
Just checking. There's still life in the old boy yet. We'll see next time on the other side. Can you get this stuff off me. It's really sticking my eye. You could do that.